So The Giver is the name of the book that we're going to be reading for the next few weeks by Lois Lowry. And this one looks a little bit different than the other one that you're going to be getting. The cover looks a little different. So Lois Lowry is an author of children's literature who's been awarded the Newbery Medal twice. First for the number of the stars in 1990, and again in 94 for The Giver, which is what we're about to read. So there's a picture of Lois Lowry there with her dog. And obviously she's a bit older now. So the question you want to think about is, imagine a world where everything is in black and white. No color whatsoever. That is what Jonas's world is like. And that's who Jonas is. He's the protagonist in this story. So your typical benchmarks for kids in the United States are at birth, children live with their families. At 5 to 6, they go to kindergarten. At 11, they go to middle school. 13, you officially become awesome teenagers. Then at 16, you can get your driver's license, which is a sign of independence. 18, children graduate from high school and begin to choose their profession. And then at 18, they can also vote. And then 21, you officially become adults and officially have free reign to do what you want to do legally. The benchmarks in the Giver Society are a totally different set of things. So at 1 year old, children get assigned to their families. They also receive their names. At 1 year old. Okay, not when they're born, and they're not given families when they're born. They're given families at a year old. 2, they can walk. 3, they can begin to tell dreams. They reach the same maturity level. Children were at 4 to 6, children wear back button jackets so they can learn to depend upon others. So they can't open their jackets. They have to have somebody else help them. So 7, children get a front button jacket, imagine that, which is the first sign of independence. 8, children perform voluntary work. They give up their comfort objects. They become more independent. Comfort objects, you'll see in the book more examples of that. Children receive bikes. At 9, girls no longer have to wear hair and ribbons. At 10, they all get haircuts. Girls no longer wear braids and the boys have shorter hair. 11, they get new clothes. Girls get different undergarments because they have undergone puberty. And boys get pants with pockets designed to carry the calculators they use in school. And 12, children learn their future professions and they become adults. So in the world of The Giver, you all will have already been adults for at least 1 year, if not 2, depending upon how old you are. So again, imagine a world void of color and emotion. No music, no change of seasons or traditional holidays, no expression of emotion, no memories, either positive or negative. And this is the world of The Giver. Values. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about values. They can be anything from food, sleep, money, love, compassion, friends, honesty, responsibility. You have a lot of different aspects of values. Now, because you guys are my MSO class, I'm not going to have you do this part, but I would like you to think about your top 3 values. These are the things that you could not live without. So it could be family, religion, friends, society, profession, religion, God. It could be any of those. So I want you to think about those top 3 values. Now, the themes in The Giver is the importance of memory. Memory is essential. So the Committee of Elders designates a receiver to remember history for the community. The relationship between pain and pleasure. There can be no pleasure without pain and no pain without pleasure. Now, connotations, and we've talked about this before, connotation is either the negative or positive spin that an author puts onto their writing. So the connotations of a word are suggestions and associations that go along with the word, kind of stretching it beyond the dictionary definition, which is the denotation. Notice the first sentence of the novel. It was almost December and Jonas was beginning to be frightened. The word December is rich in negative connotations. It's cold, dark, the death that comes to plants in winter. But also a lot of us think of December as a positive thing because of holidays, gifts, and vacations. Early in the novel, we learn that citizens of Jonah's world are taught to use precise language. Not only are rules and apologies recited in unison at school, but students carefully choose the right adjectives to describe certain situations on what they're thinking or feeling. As you read this, I want you to think about why precision in language is considered to be so important in Jonas's world. So the characters we have in here, we have Jonas, which is actually derivative of Jonah, the Old Testament prophet, disobeys God, runs away, and swallowed by a whale. Gabriel, an angel who brought heavenly messages to Daniel and Mary, recognized by Christians, Jews, and Muslims. So we have those two characters that are derivative of religion. So we're going to talk a little bit about the vocabulary in chapters 1 through 14. We have apprehensive, nervous. Transgression is a violation of a rule. Adherence is an obedience to a rule. Chastise, a punishment. To nurture, to care. Relinquish, to give up. Disquieting is upsetting. Conveyance, the act of moving or transporting. And consume, to completely take up one's attention. So this would look a little different if I was actually doing a PowerPoint with you guys. I'm having to do the digital version of it, so it will look a little bit different. But match the picture to the vocabulary word. So we have obedience. So what picture would be show obedience? Perhaps a kitten saying, I give up. And then what else would we have for obedience? Anything else for obedience? So right here we have the student that says, I will not do this in class. I will not do that, not do that. Okay. A child is obedient to their parent. Danger, keep out, no entry or no entree is the way you say it. That could be considered obedience. So chapters 1 through 4, we're going to talk about how you feel about the aging ceremony. Are you comfortable with the idea of the children being given to parents? Do you think they have a good way of keeping everyone equal? How do you feel about the family units? Do you think they would work in our world today? Do you like the idea of the units? Do you have any questions about the novel so far? So we'll get to that when we start reading the novel together. Now, a euphemism is a word or term that has mild connotations and masks the offensiveness or harshness of the actual word or term itself. So it kind of softens it up a little bit. So what are some euphemisms used in our society? So again, if you see up here, the substitution of a mild, indirect, or vague expression for one thought to be offensive. So make something bad sound good. So instead of the old man died or croaked, you'd say the old man passed away. Okay? What's in a name? Now notice when we start reading in Jonas's community, new children are given numbers rather than names at birth. Then, when they turn 1, they're assigned names at the naming ceremony. Today in other societies, children in some tribal societies are not considered born until they're named. The majority of the people in Western Hemisphere are named after biblical figures. The most popular last name in English-speaking telephone directories is Smith, which is kind of funny, ironic. The most popular first name in the actual world is Mohammed. In Japan, when an infant is 3 days old, the child is named in a small ceremony. At the age of 1 month, he's taken to a priest and they record the name and date of birth. And the child formally becomes a member of the community. Not so much in The Giver. So, what do you think about not choosing your spouse? How do you feel about not having control over what children you have? How do you think that you would feel if you were in Jonas's shoes? Would you be willing to take on the great responsibility that he's asked? And you'll find out about that when we read chapters 5 through 8. Irony is the difference between the way things seem and the way they really are. It's also what is expected to happen and what really happens. Jonas tells the giver that the receiver of memory has great power. The giver corrects him and says that the receiver has great honor. As we read the next few chapters, we'll see why this statement is ironic. Now, you guys have seen foreshadowing before. It's giving hints or clues about events that are going to happen later in the plot. Jonas gives a gift to Gabriel in the next chapters that foreshadows what will occur later in the novel. Now, brain power, think about this. The human brain is capable of holding more than 1,000 times the information contained in a large 200-volume encyclopedia. In Jonas's community, the citizens have no real long-term memory, which scientists tell us can last many, many decades. Memory of light. People once thought rainbows were signs from the gods. Today, even though scientists can now explain rainbows, people will still look up and wonder. The colors of the rainbow always come in the same order from top to bottom: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. The citizens of Jonas's community can never see a rainbow. Just like I said, their world lacks color completely. Then chapters 9 through 4. Do you feel the same way Jonas does about asking liars if they lie? Would you take advantage of the new rights he was given? And we're going to talk about that. How do you feel about the idea of sameness? And do you think that it could work in our world today? And we're actually going to move on from there. And I want you to describe something like you are seeing it for the very first time. Use your 5 senses to describe what you see, hear, feel, touch, and smell. Write your description in a full paragraph. It can be about anything, so use your imagination. So I want you to pause the video, and I want you to write your paragraph. And yes, this is for a grade. You're going to have to write the paragraph, and you're going to have to upload it into assignments. So you can pause the video now, and then when you're done writing your paragraph, you can come back and finish watching the rest. So here's our vocabulary for chapters 15 through 23. Luminous is bright. Incision, a path or cut in something. Suppressing is holding back. Carnage is slaughter. Impede is to hinder or slow down. Languid is weak or slow. Vigilant is watching carefully. Imploring is begging. Feebly, weak, haphazard is careless or without close attention. So now, again, this is something we would be able to do a little bit easier if we were in class, but match the picture to the vocabulary word. So again, this is where we would look at, for example, luminous, bright. We have right there what looks like tie-dye. Then we have incision, a path or cut in something. There's an incision there. You have suppressing, which is holding something back. See here, we have something suppressing. Which one of these would be holding something back? Maybe the young lady holding the door closed. And then we're going to skip the chapters 15 through 19 because I'm actually going to read those with you. So euthanasia comes from the Greek euthanatos, means easy death. Today, euthanasia refers to the voluntary ending of the life of a person who is terminally ill or animal, often referred to as mercy killing. In the U.S., it is still debated legally and ethically, and rulings vary from state to state. And they used to have, years ago, a doctor called Dr. Kevorkian that was aiding people to do that, their mercy killings, and helping them do that, and they actually arrested him. So a shocking videotape. When Jonas sees what happens to the extra twin as a part of his community release program, he is horrified. Many societies throughout history have had practices for controlling population or getting rid of weak or surplus infants. That would be Eskimo, China, India, places like that. So we have our author's purpose. Some authors plan predictable endings to their stories. Others want to surprise you. Lois Lowry uses vivid descriptions toward the end of the story, but she leaves Jonas's future in your hands. The ending belongs to you. So we're going to skip those questions and come back to those. Eventually, at the end of it, we're going to ask you, did you think his plan worked? How did you feel about finding out that Rosemary was the giver's daughter? And I'm going to ask you some response questions to that. So right now, you can go ahead and you can stop the video. I would like you to go back to your paragraph that you wrote describing something. And I want you to make sure that you have all 5 senses, which again is think about everything in your